Українське незалежне радіо.
All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to Ukrainian Independent Radio. My name is Oleg. I'm a host of Real Estate Podcast we do a podcast every other Thursday, and we talk about real estate, different topics. And today we're going to uncover a very important topic when it comes to buying or selling a house. It's everything is about insulation, everything's about mold, and we're going to be talking a little bit about duct ceiling. Also, we have solar attic fans. So we have a company called Green Attic, and I have Tim, who's going to be joining me today from the company Green Attic, and we're going to be talking a little bit about what I just mentioned. Pretty hot topic when it comes to buying a house. Everybody's a little bit afraid of mold. You know, that's obvious. Before I got into real estate, I had no idea what the mold is, and it's probably a very scary thing. But today we're going to uncover a little bit. We're going to learn from professionals. So Tim, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey, thank you, Oleg. Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Okay, so let's start a little bit about, let's say what the Green Attic does, what kind of services you guys provide. And it's a very nice name, it speaks for itself, but let's see what services do you offer?
Well, when we talk with the customers and try to explain the services we do, we want to connect them to problems that they're having. So our focus is to make the home cozy, comfortable, and to focus on air quality. Mm-hmm. And that can be done a number of ways. There's certain things that only the homeowner can do that we don't provide services for, but it's up to them. But what we do specialize in is retrofitting existing homes. And most of those homes, the attic insulation is inadequate, and the pressure barrier, meaning the barrier that's supposed to keep the air in the conditioned space, is all leaky. Mm-hmm. So air sealing is a big part of that as well. We do spray foam, we do cellulose, fiberglass in basements when needed, rock wool, rigid foam board. There's all kinds of insulations, but we specialize in cellulose. And that seems to have the biggest bang for buck in our value, and it's a non-toxic, non-allergenic, fireproof, bug-proof, plant-based material. So we specialize in cellulose.
That's called cellulose. Okay, that's okay. Let's talk about first. Okay. So cellulose. What's the other one? What did you say? There's different other insulation types?
Mineral wool.
Okay. I have no idea how they look. What's better one? What's not?
So let's say that you were to try to do something yourself with insulation, right?
Yeah.
Anything, a bathroom wall, whatever. You go to Home Depot or Menards or Lowe's, wherever, and you look in the insulation aisle. You're going to see mostly fiberglass batt, the big plastic things, and they pop out and they're paper-faced fiberglass.
Yeah.
That takes up most of the aisle. So that's what I would imagine when I'm thinking of insulation, the pink stuff.
That's what I see in the attics when my clients buy a house. That's what we get in. Sometimes a look, and that's what we see most of the time.
Sometimes it's loose fill, sometimes it's batt. But either way, it's really inadequate. It doesn't do well in our climate. It lets humidity through. Mm-hmm. It's tough on your throat. Mm-hmm. We wear a mask, obviously, every time we're up there when we're working, but the particulates leave your throat very itchy, or you'll know because if you get it on your skin.
Yeah, right.
Somebody who's new in the company, it's, I don't need this or that, at the end of the day, they take a warm shower, it goes further into their pores, and they're itching for 2 days.
Wow. So you got to be all protected when you get in there.
Oh, for sure. And it's hot, so it's counterproductive to be protected.
Okay, so that's not good. You don't recommend it. That's on the cheaper side, probably.
For sure. Yeah.
How does the cellulose look like?
It looks like gray. I don't know how to describe it. Like gray paper mache. It's hard to describe.
Okay. Well, I'll have to look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, look on our website, greenattic.com/cellulose, or just Google cellulose and you'll see. But it is in the aisle at the big box store, but it's in a little square. It's about $7 per bale, mm-hmm. and it comes compressed. The thing is, if you blow it in, which is the only way to do it because it's loose fill, you need a high-powered machine. So a lot of contractors, let's talk real estate. We have a lot to talk about in real estate. But I've heard the real estate term, top it off. So it's inadequate. You can see you blow more fiberglass up there, no problem solved. You'll still have mold. You'll still have all the leaks. All you have is a little bit better R value in winter while all that heat is escaping. But it does very little. So topping it off, more of the same, doesn't work as well. The reason fiberglass is used, it's cheap. You don't need a big machine to blow it in either. And if you really want to do it on a budget, you can buy it yourself and lay it out. Now, if you're going to buy it and lay it out, you have to make sure that you crisscross it. One between the studs, and then one over the studs in the opposite direction. And you can get your R value. It's a fair way of doing it if you're really on a budget.
Okay, so we got that. I know that sometimes so I'm learning today, so that's good. I always thought that these kind of installations that we talked about, these red ones in the attic, those are the best ones, and because I see those everybody uses them. But the spray foam, you don't use the spray foam in the attic. You use them in the walls. Is that right? Or you can use them in the attic too? Or does that?
Yeah, so in modern construction, there's so much to unpack. If we could have an hour on spray foam, we could have an hour on each one. But the answer to your question is spray foam can be used in the attic. The most effective way to use it right now in attics, which isn't being done because it's cost ineffective to bring the machine out for 1 inch, but the most effective method we know of would be to spray the entire attic floor with 1 inch. Mm-hmm. And then fill in with fiberglass or cellulose.
But that's too expensive.
And bat.
Yeah, that's too expensive. It's not.
It's less expensive, but you have to bring the spray foam truck out. Uh-huh. And just to put down that 1 inch, we do the same thing with cans of great stuff. You can buy it at Home Depot. It's called Great Stuff. It's 1 part spray foam instead of 2, and we seal all the top plates and penetrations in the whole attic using 1 part spray foam. So I can do it with $30. Worth of material and a lot of labor, as opposed to bringing out that truck and doing all that foam.
You know, sometimes it's pretty often, we buy a house and we get into the attic and we see a bunch of mold, or I know some people install the fan and then they have like an app just to control the moisture level in there. So that has something to do with the improper insulation, probably. The insulation amount is not, or the type of insulation is probably not correct, right? What's the typical reason outside of bathroom fan being ventilated in there? The soffits being closed up by the insulation?
Yeah, so you're naming some of the key easy fixes, and this is very important. So I'm also a realtor and home inspector. And when I heard those terms, or when you see mold in the attic, or you see a really hot attic, something that's just unbearable, or you see moisture and staining, right? The first thing to do is to blame those 2 items because they're very low cost to fix. If it's the bath fan, $250, it vents out through an independent, $250. It's not the problem. That's what they say in the real estate industry because it's an easy fix. Number 2, the soffits being clogged. Yes, most of the time, if you blow in more insulation, they're going to make a mistake by putting the insulation too close to the soffit and block. But time and time again, appointment after appointment, we see that's not the case. That's not the cause of the moisture. And in order to fix the cause, the same cost that mold treatment costs from mold-only remediation specialists without treating the cause is going to cost the same thing, but then you leave the buyer with returning mold in many cases. And I've seen it over and over and over again. Most people don't talk about it because the real estate deal is done. That's it. But that's primarily the cause. The cause is heat escape from the living space in the winter. If you and I were ice fishing together in Sturgis Bay in Michigan, and we were in a little box, I want you to imagine the house like that. Mm-hmm. It's freezing cold all around us. Wind is blowing, ice below us. It's freezing cold. We have a heater in there. If we can keep the heat in, we won't have a drafty pod that's trying to pull air in to replace the heat that's escaping, because like a lava lamp, the heat is escaping. Now in the winter in your home or these homes, we see that the heat is all escaping up into the attic through the walls and penetrations. And all of that heat has to turn into condensation. Condensation creates the mold. Now, what you said is if you could fix the ventilation, yes, if the baffles were in place and the soffits were not clogged, you might have better airflow. You might be able to get rid of some of that moisture. But that's not the problem. The moisture is heat from the house escaping.
So how do you make sure that the heat does not escape?
So if I had a cooler, like a Yeti cooler, a box cooler, right?
Mm-hmm.
I put a lid on it. Yeti has those rubber things that pull down and keep it tight.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, what's so great about a Yeti cooler? How come the ice stays in there for 3 weeks in the hot sun? Well, the air has nowhere to go. That's the most important thing. The air has nowhere to go. It's your living space conditioned pod, which you're paying to cool and heat in the opposite of outside temperatures, right? When it's cold, you're heating it. When it's hot, you're cooling it. When you have shared air from the outside in between all the seams of the house, a drafty house, a leaky house, you're recirculating the air so often that you have to run your air conditioning or your heating more than it needs to. And you're letting out all the attic, causing mold.
Is it high
There
bill?
are entire communities where every house has mold because of the design.
So the mold is more created in the wintertime?
Yes, it grows in the winter because it has the optimal environment. Most of the time in the summer, the radiation, the direct heat, 140 degrees, will kill it or at least pacify it.
Okay.
And you'll find different kinds of mold. White mold, black mold, mold around certain areas more than others.
So like a high electric bill would be one of the indicators?
No, electric is the summer, so that just shows that you're losing your heat. Yes, you can see everything in the reverse of seasons, like on a thermal imager, for example. But a high heating bill would be more indicative than a high electric bill. The electric is for air conditioning in the summer.
All right, so the gas bill, yeah. So that would be a gas bill. Okay, that's one of the... the problem is that not a lot of people go in the attic.
Exactly. I always ask as a joke, every house I go into, how often do you go in the attic?
Yeah.
The answer is always no.
Yeah.
No one wants to go up there. No one thinks about it, but it's a third of your house.
Yeah, I know, because
it's not done right.
Yeah.
It's shared air right now.
It's always a surprise, when we get in, it's like, so often, house is perfect, everything's good, and then we get into the attic, oh man, now we have an issue here. Now we have a mold. So,
Yeah,
and then owners don't even know about
there.
it. Yeah, or too hot. Also, that's the problem, yeah, when it's too hot.
Big time. In the summer, everyone complains their upstairs is hot. And they think it's because the heat's rising. No, it's because the attic is a convective oven with direct radiation from the sun beating down onto the worst material possible, asphalt shingles, which are conducting amazing amounts of heat. The average temperature of a roof across Chicagoland is 140 to 150 today. The average temperature in the attic is 120 to 125. And the average temperature of the drywall in the houses across Chicago today, while they're being cooled with 55 to 65 degree air, is still 95. So they never get it down to a comfortable temperature, and they're running their air conditioner all summer long for no reason, when you could simply insulate and vent the attic better. Get that heat out of there.
Interesting. Never thought about it that way. I always thought that the attic's supposed to be hot.
No, it's supposed to be the same temperature as the outside.
Really?
Within 10 degrees, yes. That's a rule.
Oh, okay, now the question. I have a question. So let's say two houses in the wintertime. One of they're both identical. One after the snow, one keeps the snow on the roof. The other one is there's no snow on the roof. What's the deal?
I tell our customers, I told one today, you will drive through your neighborhood and everyone will look at yours and say, why did he keep his snow?
Yeah.
So listen, we had to write a blog about ice dam prevention instead of ice dam removal, because on Google algorithms, when people have an ice dam, meaning water gets into their walls because they have huge icicles that are melting on their walls and making wet spots in the corners of their walls, February 15th through 22nd of this year, all across Chicago, contractors from Minnesota, Wisconsin were all coming down and de-icing everyone's roofs, trying to get all the snow off, trying to get the icicles to go away. And everyone's looking at removal, right? But we said, let's use the keyword prevention and target the same customers by discussing the building science behind icicles. And I coined the phrase that says, an icicle is simply a measuring stick of heat loss. So, looking across Chicagoland, all of the garages that are disconnected, like in the alley, 0 icicles. And the houses and all the apartments, especially the apartments, you look in the areas where they don't have the budget to improve things, and the icicles are 2 stories long. You see it all across Chicago. So in a particular area, I saw a house, I jumped out, and I got icicles that are 2 stories, 20 feet long, all across the building for 8 apartment units. Great photo for the internet. Then I pulled away to leave, and I saw the detached garage. Same elevation, same height, same building material, same everything, 0 icicles, 0. And the other one had 20 footers.
It's all about the heat escaping, yeah?
Exactly.
Wow.
And that heat escape is a measuring stick of heat loss. So if you have an icicle, call us. If you have an icicle, Google how to prevent it if you're not in our area. But it's a very simple fix. When the heat stays in your conditioned space, you're going to have optimal, comfortable temperatures. You won't have a drafty home because you won't be replacing the pressure of air that's lost, and you won't have icicles. It's totally preventable, but it can be diminished in even the most difficult homes, like all across Chicagoland that has a Cape Cod or bungalow, where like technically they live in the attic portion. You see a window up there, or you have all those L-shaped homes. We can do a lot with that as well. It's a little more difficult, but it can be done.
Can be done, but there's no attic. You mean they live in the attic, right?
But they have the side walls, the knee walls, which are always for storage. You have the vertical walls on the side of the bungalows. Usually people have closet storage. It's like 3 feet on an angle. Yeah, so those are more challenging because you have heat closer to the roof.
Man, it's very good. I didn't know this stuff. You know, that's valuable because I'm gonna educate my clients here. But what about the mold? You know, when it gets that, you said there's black and white. What's the difference? And how do you, like, if it's black, it's already mold or no? Or sometimes if it's the black, if something is like, you know, if you look in the attic, the plywood is black. Is it already a mold or not necessarily?
So if you look in the attic and the plywood is black, completely black, have you ever seen that?
Completely, a couple times, but rarely. Like this on the
dark
picture.
Staining. Yeah. So you've got to decipher what kind of stain it is. Sometimes it's a water stain. Sometimes the sheathing, the wood that's on your attic, sat in the yard during construction and someone walked on it and there's mud or footprints, you know? Not every spot is mold. Some stains were a one-time thing because of a roof leak, and then they got a new roof and fixed it. But if you're seeing black mold, like the one in the picture, Charlie there uncovering, that's something that takes time to develop. And if you're seeing white mold, and I've seen green mold, I've seen some really bad apartments, some neglected places, you got really thick, broccoli-looking green mold. But any of those are an active fungi, basically, that's growing from moisture and a dark, moist environment. So we want to make sure it's dry and well vented, exactly like that photo. In that photo, you can see the solar fan, you can see the gable vent, you can see the shiny tube is the bath vent exhausted out, and you see R60, 18 inches of insulation.
Why is the solar panel? Because it has a solar panel and the battery on top?
Yeah, so the important thing about any powered fan is to remember that it's an active vent. So it's going to pull air through. Make sure your home is sealed from the attic before you start pulling air and sucking out your conditioned air even more. So once your attic is sealed, you can put in a powered fan and it'll pull fresh air all day. It's the best thing you can do for your attic. Fresh outside air and plant-based material, those two things. Once the fresh air is up there, it's going to control the temperatures and keep all of those organic building materials, such as wood, healthy and dry.
Oh, so it's pulling the air from the outside into the attic.
Yes, it is.
Not the other way
back
around.
out through the fan.
Not the
That's
other
why
way.
you see the baffles in the picture, those black things in the photo.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, those are air chutes. So the solar fan is way better than the traditional fan that you can buy off the shelf. Even though the traditional fan is about $87, with $30 for a humidistat plug-in, they have a 2 to 3 year lifespan. So you're replacing them often. And that's verified by every customer. So a solar fan, even though we don't have the data on solar panels over a 100-year period, Remington's giving the solar fan a lifetime warranty. And we expect that fan to run throughout your life. And that's why we're happy to provide people with the solar fan, because it's done. And it doesn't have to be electrically connected. And it just runs quietly, and it pulls the air from the intended input, balanced input from the soffits or the gables, and cools the attic.
Well, what's the difference between black and white mold? Why it's white? I never seen. Maybe I've seen, but mostly it's black.
You ever seen it on bread? It's usually green.
Yeah.
In the attics, you're mostly seeing black. It just depends on the environment, what's around there. Sometimes I'll see both in the same space, and they just develop differently under different conditions.
Okay, let's say there's mold. So how bad it is for your health, and how long it takes to get it treated, and if is that any types of mold, like if it's all black, can it be treated, or some mold can if it's too much, then you have to replace the whole roof?
No, it can be treated. In very rare to never would you have to replace the roof. It's an organic material. It gets sprayed. It kills the mold. Then we use a disinfectant. In remediation environments, they may scrape that surface to remove the dead spores, and then they'll put a coating. A lot of times in real estate deals, you see a tan coating across the sheathing. Now your attic is tagged forever as moldy, right? So I don't like the tan paint.
I typically see it's painted,
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
painted.
But here's the problem with the paint. You're just encapsulating it, and it's going to grow on the dust on the paint again.
Yeah.
And it tags the attic. Why not just let it breathe right and seal the floor? Two easy fixes. And if you need more insulation, put more insulation. But the main things are the ventilation and air sealing. We can't have exchanges. So if you have mold, you can spray it, kill it, and then you have the option of a clear coat from Green Attic if you want to make it a non-organic surface, which is also a benefit. Imagine your plywood if it was all done like women's nails with a clear coat of protection. It's a non-organic surface now, so that's helpful. And then you can proceed with insulation.
And how much cost treatment of the mold, roughly?
Quickly on health, if you have a diminished immune system from poor diet or hereditary things, if you're elderly or young and you have mold in the house, you'll most likely have cold symptoms, runny eyes, itchy throat, and they do borderline other concerns about any kind of pathogen or virus that would allow an attack on the immune system, would diminish one's ability to fight it naturally. So you don't want mold in your attic. That's all I'll say about that. And the cost for treating the mold is $1.40 per square foot, and a mold-resistant coating, clear coat, is $1.20. So you're looking at $2.60 per square foot. Every home is, on average, 1,000 square feet or 1,200 or 900, between 25 by 50. So your average home would cost you $2,600 to treat the mold with Green Attic insulation. That's not treating the cause, but that is treating the mold.
So about 26 roughly. Yeah. If it's the whole attic needs to be treated.
We treat every attic completely because it's airborne, so it's everywhere. Just because it's not as advanced in growth in one area doesn't mean that it's not continually present everywhere.
Okay, got it. All right, I think that with the mold, It's pretty often. In the townhomes, what we see is that the bathroom vent is not ventilated to the outside. It just blows hot air into the attic. So that's pretty common. It's like 3 out of 5 with a mold.
Exactly. And it's a $250 fix. The kit is $36 at the big box store. It's an insulated sleeve and an independent roof vent.
Oh.
So you're sending the air straight up and out. But in the townhomes, the association may have to approve it, so that's why you see less of them.
Right. Yeah. They used to build it like that. I don't know. They probably cut cost on the building.
Well, if the attic is well vented, that's not a concern for me. And like I said, it's a scapegoat in real estate deals because it's an easy fix. And I have picture evidence. I had a home in Buffalo Grove where the vent was directly pointed to the wood sheathing, and there's a tiny little cone about 10 inches wide of black mold, light grayish black mold. That's it. That's all it would do, one little spot. It's not contributing like all the heat escape in the winter, like you think it is. There's all the icicles. We're removing them in the winter.
Right.
Yeah, it was a big deal in February. People spent a lot of money on removal instead of prevention.
That's good to know. I never knew that. I'm gonna cut pieces on that video and then just spread it around because there's a good value
There's
here.
the solar fan. Hey, thank you.
I was gonna ask you something about how many trucks we got? 5 trucks? We got more?
10.
10 trucks? Whoa.
10 right now, yeah. So we'll run them all in winter. Right now we're running about 5. 2 spray foam. And in the winter, because people mistakenly think insulation equals warmth, we get way more calls in the winter than we do in the summer. And it shouldn't be like that.
What about duct ceiling? You told me that there's you guys do duct ceiling. What is that?
Yeah, so this is super important. If you have ductwork running through the home, the best example, I had a new house in 2020, and I had a opening to the duct system at the delivery point, and I shined my flashlight in there. It's like a disco ball all around. There's all this light. All of the connections for the ductwork are crimped together. And in this forced air system, the seams, sometimes the tape is put on around the seams when it's dusty. They don't clean the surface first and the tape breaks away. Either way, there's a number of reasons why not only are you losing the pressure that was intended to go to the vent in the room, you're also losing a massive percentage of your intended cool temperatures or warm air through the duct system because they're going through hostile environments such as the attic. If your ductwork is running through the attic, you've got heat up there. It's melting the snow even sooner than everyone else. And you're trying to put warm air through a cold space. So a double fix is if the ductwork is accessible, then we can spray foam it with 1 inch. It's called Ductwork Encapsulation. And this is an amazing way to create a thermal moisture and pressure barrier for the ductwork so that it supplies air directly to the vents where it's intended.
Yeah. So
it can be done other ways. It can be done from inside. It can be done from outside. We can cover it with insulation.
Air escapes through these connections.
Exactly. Big time. And you'll see all the dust build up in them. Yeah.
So you're all about keeping the air not to escape. You're doing everything to hold the air where it's supposed to be. Keeping the
Oleg, once we can control the air in the room, we can control the air quality.
Right. And I never knew that the fan on the roof is supposed to bring the air from the outside into the attic. I thought it's the other way.
That it's blowing it out?
Yeah.
It is blowing it out, but it's sucking it in. And this is if you find any negative write-ups about powered fans, is if you have a powered fan running and you haven't air sealed your house, you're pulling your air from your conditioned space, which is counterproductive.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Good stuff. What else you do? Is that pretty much the main stuff?
Crawl space encapsulation. There's a lot of crawl spaces across Chicagoland. If you have a dirt floor or a gravel floor, we do rim joist sealing, which is super important.
Yeah, you could gravel floor, and then you put I've always seen something that's on top of it, so it's I I guess
a
it's
white
not,
vapor barrier, 10 mil or 20 mil vapor barrier.
yeah, so
Yeah.
there's no water coming through. Is that why? Is there no moisture
It's
coming
not
through?
to stop water. It's just for moisture primarily,
Yeah.
because otherwise that crawl space is damp, dirty, dusty, just like the attic. It's another yucky space. You've got to control that space as well.
Okay. Nice. Wow. How long does it take to remediate the mold in the attic? Like a day or something?
Yeah, no job takes longer than a day unless there's complications. But 1,000 square foot attic, the mold will be done that morning, and we'll get to work in the afternoon on other stuff. But we always air seal the floor before we treat mold, so that we separate the living space from the attic, and then we treat the mold, and the mold treatment can vent out the attic that day, and then we can finish with insulation. So yeah, they're day jobs.
But most people, before they even know that the air is escaping, they don't even know. If they don't know, if they don't go to the attic, they don't even know that problem exists.
They know all the symptoms, and that's why I can ask, do you have cobwebs or dust in any of your rooms, in the corners or seams? Then you have air movement. Do you have cracked trim? Do you have cracked caulk? Do you have separated wood? Any kind of cosmetic defect or dust or cobweb indicates air movement.
Oh, hold on. Cobweb indicates air movement?
100%, yeah. And same thing on the outside. They don't exist in other environments, especially around houses. Every blower door test we do, every thermal imaging scan we do will show you the exact same thing. And I could show you without a blower door test or a thermal imager, just based on dust and dirt alone in between seams and cracked or chipped paint or caulk. Because the paint and caulk is not a thermal barrier, it's cosmetic. And it expands and contracts with the building materials. And when the air passes through, it expands and contracts the wood, it sucks in moisture, expands and contracts, and the bugs and the dust gets in because of stack effect. All the air in the house is going up, 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 out in the winter like a hot air balloon. And all that cold air is getting sucked in, and the critters and bugs, they love it.
And 90% of houses I go through, they probably have a
Yeah,
poor air
you don't
quality.
need that. The crawl space, the basement, the laundry room in Chicago, everyone has the laundry room in the basement, and it's the creepy cobweb place. It's all because of air leak at the foundation wall.
Foundation
Simple
wall.
fix.
What do you do with the foundation walls?
Rim joist. If you Google rim joist, RIMJOIST, the rim joist is the box sill. It's the framing that the house sits on over the foundation wall. The seam of the foundation wall and the box is always leaky. In passive houses, right now, they're coming up with a fix for it by offsetting the foundation wall and first floor framing to prevent that air leakage. But commonly, it's a two seam, and right there is a huge gap. And all kinds of air is coming in. Bugs, mice droppings. And they love it because it's warm and they got fiberglass there and they nest, and you see all the feces along the top of the wall or in the crawl space. It's all one seam there at the base that's letting in the air.
I guess that probably elevation, if the level of the backyard is towards the basement, that's probably causing that too. Like maybe the water's running towards it. No? That's something.
Well, you want to keep all the water 4 feet away from your house. So anything coming off your roof needs to go down and around. You need a swale in your yard to bring the yard water or rainwater away from your building. You don't want any water. You need your gutters to be 4 feet away from the house. Otherwise, you're dumping water right to your foundation that creates erosion and then eventually cracking and moisture that whole time, which could give you respiratory issues from mold and things like that.
I wonder if you go and buy a house, it's super tough for you probably. Pick a house, you're gonna be just walking around like picking it to death probably. You're probably only gonna build yourself,
For sure. Eventually, I have to buy one here upcoming in March, so that'll be fun.
Yeah,
we'll see what's on the market at the time. It should be very fun.
Yeah, well, it's tough. If you know too much, you start. It's hard,
It's like if you work on a cruise. If you work on a cruise, you're not going on a cruise for vacation.
It's true. Well, I've learned so much. That's cool. I'm going to cut in pieces this video and just spread it around because there's little good nuggets in there that a lot of people are going to learn. And I've learned so much. It was a pleasure. Thanks, Tim. Thanks for...
Hey, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for giving us some good tips here. Anything I didn't ask you that I should have asked you? Did you want to say
You
anything?
know, there's a bunch of rabbit holes. You have to trust that you're getting stuff from the right source. There are different levels of education and experience. So you want to look at passive house. You want to look at greenhouses. You want to look at cozy, comfortable. You don't want to just say attic insulation and put in attic insulation. That's important difference. You want to research. This is a 100% return on investment within 6 years if you just fix your attic a little bit, and you'll be more comfortable over the next 6 years. So you want to do it right. Look at the NICOR program. Look at companies in the NICOR program, the rebates. We have third-party verification. We follow BPI standards. So we can assure you that, you know, it's being done to the highest standards.
Well, I can
at the
tell.
best cost.
I can tell you know what you're talking about, so that's important. You know.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, Tim, thanks so much. Thanks so much for joining us today. I appreciate your time, and whoever we're gonna put your website. It's pretty simple. greenattic.com.
Exactly.
So whoever's interested, please check with them. They have a Facebook page. You can message them, or call, or website. You know, anything. Sounds
130 5-star Google reviews.
Oh,
We've
nice.
got great reviews as well. Angie's List anywhere, so find us anywhere. But, you know, do the research. Have us out. Have a free estimate. Do an energy audit. Or, you know, call us anytime. We'll give you more info.
Thanks so much, Tim. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Hey, it was a good conversation. Thank you, Oleg.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Українське незалежне радіо.